watching the Original Music Podcast with your host, Raymond Hems.
All right, here we go, episode 74. Today, we've got Lucky Doley with us, all the way from Brazil right now, but originally from Australia. How you doing today?
Awesome, thanks. Yeah, how you doing?
I'm doing good here in Atlanta. We are looking forward to your U.S. dates that you're finally nailed down and you're coming our way. So, how long have you been working on getting this tour together? And, what finally pulled the trigger to make it happen?
Well, I've been working on it since I had the crazy idea, about, I think, probably around July last year, I'd say. I can't remember the exact timeline.
Yeah.
But, definitely a very long time since I came up with the idea to I guess try and prove that I'd had enough of an audience in the States to even do a tour.
Yeah.
You know? Because I wasn't having any luck with booking agents over there, and I think not having a visa and all that stuff sort of lined up made it a little bit unattractive for them. So I just took it into my own hands, and I was almost 100% certain that I had enough of a fan base in the US to make it happen. But I guess this was the way of doing it without having to, take that huge risk and outlay all that money and everything.
Yeah.
And wasn't going to work out. So it has made it an incredible amount of work. But I am so glad that I did it, and that it's all coming together, and it's going to happen.
Well, I started seeing you pop up in my Facebook and Instagram stuff probably just before the pandemic, and I was immediately like, oh my goodness, who is this monster? Who is this guy? So I started doing a little deeper dig, and I found out that you were in Australia, and when I saw you play, Hammond, I've got a Hammond C3 here I'm looking at, and when I see you playing yours, it makes me go, holy crap, I need to put some more practice time in on that thing. But I saw you start popping up on my reels, and man, you just, you seem to be really working, the social media angle and getting your stuff out there. This is all you doing this work, right? You don't have a big team behind you, right?
No, I've got no one. No, I just piece it all together, and I mix all the albums and master most of them myself as well. And
wow.
And just, like to film lots of gigs, and sometimes I get them professionally filmed, and then I'll edit them up and make little pieces. And just, it's interesting with the whole social media thing and the viral videos. Like, about 10 years ago when I started doing it, I'd just do full songs, and then, and they'd get that reach so many people. But it was kind of when I was taking the solos out of the songs and just showing the solos, that things really started to pick up, and they'd get shared around, and next thing I knew, I had hundreds of thousands of views, and it all kind of started from there. And then from that, you'd get a select few who would actually stick around to watch your full songs, and then that's kind of been this slow build up over the years, and but it's definitely worked really well, and I'm still doing that. Still doing that now. In fact, I posted a little solo from the Brazil gig just a couple of days ago.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that makes a lot of sense. In this age of TikTok brain, you got 35 seconds, to keep someone's attention. And when you're putting up one of your solos, anybody that hasn't seen him play, the solos are, like the final barrage of fireworks at the end of the 4th of July here in the States. And I think that's a great angle is you put the highlight up there and post and go on to the next thing.
Yeah, that's right. You do have to you do have to work out whatever's kind of special and interesting about you, and just lead with that, and then try and get as many eyeballs as you can, and then hopefully some will stick around for the real substance.
Yeah, the meat. Yeah, the meat, not just the dessert, right? So when I saw you start, popping up everywhere on my feeds, and obviously once you watch one video, they start to the algorithm starts bringing me more of your stuff.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
No, I like that. We like that. But figuring out your path.
Sorry, you just froze there for a second. I didn't quite catch you.
I said figuring out your path, and what works for you, and just being relentless. You haven't. It seems to me, just obviously on this side of a screen, watching what you're doing, that you're a relentless hard worker. And so like this whole idea of putting together the U.S. tour, that just seems like you just put your nose to the grindstone and making it happen.
Well, and you think about it, but then, you put it out to the world, and then all of a sudden you've got to actually come through with it. And it's like, whoa.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I didn't quite realize how much of an undertaking it was going to be with the whole Kickstarter thing and then organizing everything. But the whole grand plan of this was to prove that I could do it. And then hopefully it's enough proof to some of the agents out there to bring me over instead of me having to do the work myself. So that's been the grand plan from the start. But sometimes I don't quite realize how much work is involved in things, and I get all excited and have all these crazy ideas, and I decide that I'm going to do them, and then all of a sudden I have to do them, and then you find that you don't have any time to write or practice or do anything actually music.
Right. Yeah, that. We're on the Brazilian internet there. I think you're freezing up a little bit, but
yeah, I think it is probably a little bit dodgy here. Sorry.
That's all right. So I kind of run into this type thing as well. I put during COVID, I put together an experimental project band, and and took a big bite of what it takes to put together a whole show and all that kind of stuff. Do you feel like sometimes we get so bogged down in making sure we're doing the social media stuff right and making sure that, we're trying to get the book the gigs and do all that stuff, that once it comes time to perform, you're already kind of like, whew, I'm tired,
Oh, without a doubt. Yeah. Yeah. It's not ideal.
Yeah.
Certainly not ideal. And I keep telling myself it's not going to be this way forever, but if it is, then so be it. I'll still put on the best show I possibly can and give it my all, but it's tricky.
Yeah.
It is definitely tricky, and I'm sure it never used to be like that. But it's it's what I've chose to do, and I'm working towards it not being like that.
Yeah, yeah. It's having a team that would be doing your social media for you and all that kind of stuff. Would be nice.
Sounds like a dream.
I know. It would be nice, but at the same time, there's a personal touch about the stuff that you're putting out there that we can tell that it's coming from you.
Yeah, that's right.
So
it is very true, and people really appreciate that. And I mean, I don't have the time to do it as much as I used to, but when I first started, I was definitely replying to every single comment and every message. And I think that's a really that's one of the great things about starting out. When you do have that time and you are at a certain level where you're not being overwhelmed by messages and comments, that you can start a really loyal fan base by just engaging with everyone. So I mean, I still try and do it as much as I can, but these days,
there's only 24 hours in a day, so
that's right,
and 8 of those are supposed to be taken up with sleep. So
I know.
Well, I don't know your backstory as far as when did you start playing keys, and what drew you to what I like to call the more organic type of instruments, like the Hammond is a traditional sound and the clav is a traditional sound. A guy like you could very easily have gone off the Rick Wakeman synthesizer
you're frozen there a bit. Sorry. Gone off where?
Gone off to the Rick Wakeman synthesizer world. And it seems like you kind of the traditional sounds and just mastered them.
Yeah, well, I think it's just what I loved from the beginning. My mum and dad got divorced before I was even one, and my mum started going out with a blues guitar player, and so he had all these old records around the house and was always jamming and playing, and I think at a very early age, almost as long as I can remember, we had an upright piano in the house. So myself and my brother, who's an amazing keyboard player as well, we would just jam along and try and emulate the sounds of all the blues piano players, like Otis Spann and Pinetop Perkins, and then discovered rock and roll. What is it, 20, 25, 30 years after it happened? But
sure,
and Jerry Lee Lewis and all those incredible rock and roll piano, Little Richard, all that, just that amazing energy those guys had was I just absolutely loved that.
Right.
And then it did happen quite organically. Like we started playing in bands quite young, playing blues, and then you tape with Booker T and the MGs on it with this organ sound.
Yeah.
It's like, what's that sound? That sounds amazing.
Yeah.
And then got into the organ, and then someone we knew had a Hammond organ and brought that around, and then with the Leslie, and my very first introduction to the Hammond was playing a real one through a Leslie,
Nice.
And I think for most people these days that's not the case. They'll be playing an organ sound on a dodgy keyboard, especially 20 years ago, they would have been playing like a DX7 or some really bad digital organ sound. And I imagine they probably would have been fairly underwhelmed and gone, oh, the organ, no, I'm not going to play that.
Yeah.
But because I got to play a real one with a real Leslie and up really loud and it was screaming, I was just like, what is this sound? It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
And
hooked ever since.
And then it continued on.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. That's still number one for me always. I mean, I love the clav so much, and now the whammy clav as well, which is just an insane piece of gear.
When did that come into your life? When did the whammy clav come in?
The whammy clav came in, I think it was 2012. I think was when it arrived on my doorstep.
Wow.
But it was the evolution of having the clav.
Yeah.
Which I got into quite young as well, because it was, we're playing blues, funk, soul, and, then the funk.
Yeah.
That I just really got heavily into that, around in my mid-teenage years, and was always wondering what that sound was, that sort of twangy, funky sound.
Yeah.
And I remember I got a Korg X5, and it had like funk clav was like one of the presets on it or something like that.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that sounds a bit like that sound.
Yeah.
And then I'd ask around, found out that it was a clavinet that was on all these things. And then my mate, great guitar player, Tim Hartwig, who we had a band together when we just out of school basically. And he said he was down at a second-hand shop in Adelaide, and there was a clav there, a clavinet. And I was like, what? You serious?
A real one.
So we finished the rehearsal. I didn't even know what a clavinet looked like. I mean, because I didn't have the internet back then. So it was just, all I knew is it was called a clavinet. I walked into the shop and was looking around. I said, oh, there's a couple of keyboards. And I found this wooden thing that looked kind of old. And I thought, oh, that must be it. And I looked on the play. Oh, yeah, clavinet. And plugged it in. And it was just like, like it was totally, completely unplayable.
Yeah.
Utterly unplayable. But I thought, oh, well, it was $125.
Wow.
Yeah. So I just grabbed it anyway in some hope that I could fix it up, and which I did, and I played that clav for years and years and years. I had a band with my brother, a funk band called The Hands, and I played clav in that, and that was so this is still pre-whammy. This is pre-whammy bar. But the funny thing is, I'd known about the whammy clav because I remember maybe in my 20s, someone came up to me at a gig where I had the clav and was saying, "Oh, there's a they made a clavinet with a whammy bar," and I'm like, "No way!
Take my money."
Serious? That sounds like the greatest thing.
Yeah.
And but that was still long before the internet, so it was just like, "Oh, okay, great." They made one with a whammy bar, and I remember when I first got the internet, I started just every month or two just searching, trying to find something, and nothing would ever come up. Not until about, I think, 2008 or something.
Yeah.
And on YouTube, there was a clip of George Duke playing one, and I was like, it's real.
Wow.
It exists.
And are they still making them now? Do they make new ones?
So it's just fine. No matter what, you have to find an original clavinet. So you can get your hands on one of them. And then the system, I think Ken Rich from Ken Rich Sounds in LA, I think he periodically makes a batch of them.
Gotcha.
But I don't any for sale at the moment.
Yeah.
But of the system. But I guess maybe he waits till there's enough orders or something like that. But yeah, there still wouldn't be many in the world. I can't imagine I doubt there's even 40 in the world.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think when I started playing it, there wouldn't have even been 20. But yeah, I'd make a guess at there being between 30 and 40 now.
Yeah.
In the world, something like that.
Well, the two instruments that you're talking about being your mainstays both require maintenance, repairs. It's not like a new piece of equipment. And we're talking, my Hammond is like a 63, something like that. I mean, we're talking, these are old instruments.
Yeah.
So are you self-taught at the art of keeping these things alive?
Kind of. I'm pretty all over the clav.
Yeah.
But they're obviously quite a simple machine, really, comparatively to the organ.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can pretty much do a total overhaul on the clav and have to pretty much all the time because it gets beaten up a lot.
Yeah.
The world in a soft case, which is not ideal, but it's the only way I can get it light enough to take on a plane. So yeah, that takes a lot of work, but yeah, I'm pretty good at sorting its troubles out these days and coming up with makeshift, fixes and all that sort of stuff to get you through a gig if something's a bit out of whack.
Yeah.
And the Hammond, I'm okay with the general things. I can solder wires back onto drawbars and adjust bus bars and adjust the preamps and get a line out of the organ, with a couple of wires if I need to and things like that. But maybe work out if a valve is faulty or something like that. But
right.
Yeah, I'm certainly no Hammond tech, but I've got I know a lot of great Hammond techs around the world now, which is really great. And luckily there's enough fanatical people in regards to the Hammond that hopefully that'll be the case for a while yet.
Yeah, I hope it doesn't go away too. It's just such a good sound. Um, so, now you're talking about the Hammond. Did you bring a Hammond all the way to Brazil, or do you use the one that's from backline somewhere, or how are you doing this?
Yeah, so I mean, I've got my Hammond is a 1957, sorry, C3, and which I love, and so I tour that one around in the van, everywhere in Australia generally.
Yeah.
Unless it's a real long way away because Australia is quite big.
Sure.
But overseas, yeah, it's always higher Hammonds. It's backline Hammonds. I've used digital ones as well.
Yeah.
As long as there's a good Leslie.
Yeah.
But yeah, I always prefer to use the real thing if I can.
Sure.
But sometimes it's just not possible.
Yeah. And with the Leslie, you were talking about adjusting the preamp in the C3. Is that push the Leslie harder to get it to distort, or how are you getting?
Can do.
Yeah.
It can do. Yeah. Generally, it just pushes the input into the preamp, I believe, a bit harder. So it probably doesn't really make the organ any louder unless someone's turned it down a long way.
Right.
But it will crunch it up a bit. But yeah, sometimes the output of the organ is quite soft, which can be problematic because then you're right. It's not gonna send the Leslie into any kind of
overdrive,
distortion or overdrive, which is a bit sad.
Yeah, it's really sad.
But I've done many gigs where I've had to play a very clean organ, and it's fine, but it's not the way I like it to be.
Yeah.
But there's workarounds. I often have an preamp, which generally will drive the Leslie harder. Most of like my Trek 2, that puts out quite a high output, which will always overdrive the Leslie, which is great. And I think generally even the stock Leslie combo pedals, they usually have a fairly decent output that'll overdrive the Leslies.
Yeah, but that's
always a good way.
Yeah, I think when you were in talks to be the Hammond player for an artist, we'll just say, that I had reached out to you, or you had put a post out saying, does anybody have a Leslie preamp pedal?
Yes.
And I hit you up. It's like, I got one. And that didn't work out, but you were talking about the home preamp box that has 1/4-inch inputs on it, and then to the 6-pin or 9-pin.
Yeah, originally designed, I guess, for probably guitar players to be able to use Leslie's, and also certain other keyboards or other brands of organs that didn't have a Leslie kit, so you could just go out of the back of the 1/4-inch, and so that's a good workaround. If you get an organ and Leslie that's set up, or either it's been modified to some weird thing, or just doesn't really have the overdrive, if you can work out a way to get the output to a 1/4-inch of the organ, which isn't particularly hard to do,
right?
And then you've got a combo pedal, then you can plug into that, and then that'll boost the signal enough to overdrive the Leslie. And that's really all I do.
Yeah.
As far as overdrive. When I was using my 860, my my solid state, I'd often have a distortion pedal or something to make it break up a little bit more because they were quite clean.
Yeah.
I mean, the one that everyone was talking about was that BK Butler pedal, which is a great pedal. Well, I haven't actually used it for a very long time, but that was quite handy going into the solid state Leslie because it had a nice sounding overdrive, and it also had had treble and bass on it, which was very handy.
A little bit of EQ.
And it was valve. It was a nice sound too. But yeah, honestly, if it's just overdriving, just giving the Leslie enough input is the sound I really like. Yeah.
What's your
what I go for?
What's your go-to Leslie now? I think I got a 122 or I got a 122 and a 145. I'm not sure which one was which though. What's your go-to?
The smaller one is the 145.
Oh, okay. So that's what I got here. I've got the other one back in North Carolina. What's your go-to Leslie these days?
Well, I mean, I love the sound of all the 35 watt ones, the 122s, the 147s. But just out of practical reasons, I love the one I've got, which is the 145. It's a bit smaller,
Yeah.
and it has the 147 amplifier in it, which can take a lot more input than
Right.
the 122s can, because the 122s have got a weird thing where if you're hammering it and really giving it some input, for some reason it affects the speed control and it can
Oh,
get stuck on fast.
really?
I don't really know why this is, but yeah, I don't think it affects most people because they're not really fanging it for long periods of time when, they're probably being a little more polite with the organ than I am.
You're not
But
polite at all.
if I'm really, if I'm really screaming it out for a while, and then I think that kind of input, and maybe it heats up as well or something on.
Yeah.
But it can get stuck on fast, and that's can be very annoying. So really, just out of practical reasons, I like the 145.
Yeah. No, I thought they were 50 watts, but they're 35 watt tube amps that are in there.
Feel like they're about 35 to 40, yeah, but
yeah,
I'm sure someone will know.
Yeah, so
someone will be able to correct me for sure.
I could look it up, but who cares? We'll go with that. All right, so can you, the Hammond assassin, please settle a debate that we go back and forth with me and the bands and stuff. Proper way to mic your Leslie. How do you do it?
The proper way is the way you like to do
it. That's what I keep telling them.
Yeah, I don't think there's any proper way. I think in the studio, I mean, I prefer it. I prefer them. I don't know if you can.
Yep.
You'll be seeing what I'm doing, but I don't really like them to be
opposed,
like 180.
Right.
Yeah. Because I don't know. I just find that to be a bit too wide, a bit too sort of whack, 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 whack.
Right. Well, there's only sound. There's only sound coming out of one side of the horn, right?
That's right. One side.
So
yeah.
if you've got a mic on both sides, like you said, you're going to get the Doppler effect by it's hitting this mic, it's hitting that mic, it's hitting this mic.
It's just going to be really wide. So we hitting this one, then it has to go all the way around.
Right.
To hit this one and all the way around. Because I remember a long time ago someone saying, "Oh, you don't put it like that because you're going to get the same sound out of each one," but that's not true because it only comes to one side. Right. But still, so you can have it like that. That's fine. It's just very wide, like maximum stereo.
Yeah.
But I kind of like it just to be a little more, I don't know, a little, not quite so wide.
Right.
And I like to think about it more like, your ears or something. I'm not sure, but that's the way I seem to prefer it. And I don't know if there's really all that much difference if they're angled in or if they're straight.
Yeah.
It might be a bit brighter or a little bit whippier. But yeah, I think my general rule is I just kind of put them like that, and I put them quite close when I'm playing live.
Mm-hmm.
And in the studio, I'll bring them back a bit.
Yeah.
But live, I like to have them nice and close just to cut out as much of the drums and the bass and everything else that's going on into the microphones as possible.
Yeah, and are you how are you miking the bin? Are you miking through the vents on it or in the back where it's...
So you just froze up there, but I think I got what you were saying. Yeah, I usually just mic it up at the front.
Okay.
Honestly, probably it's a bit more like wherever's going to be more out of the way, If it's a cramped stage, then I'll put it around the back. But yeah, I still want it to be kind of close though. So if you are miking it up from the louvers at the back, you want to try and, I guess, get it in pretty close and in the gap.
Yeah.
In the gap.
And in the lower bin, you're a single mic on that?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how I've been doing it here too, and it comes out great.
Yeah, I mean, in the studio,
Yeah,
go whack two in there. Why not?
yeah,
But yeah, I don't think it really doesn't make a huge difference, especially live. I don't think it would make a huge difference.
yeah. And when you're doing live, from the clips I'm seeing, I don't think I'm seeing you wear in-ears, but now that you have longer hair, I can't tell. Are you using stage monitors?
Yeah, no.
Okay.
No, the only time I've done the in-ear thing was that 301 performance, which would be nuts. And I only had one in, and it was I hated it actually, but yeah, no. So I just use monitors. Yeah.
Yeah, and you just keep those things blasted. On the excuse me, on the clav, it opens up a few more doors because that's got a 1/4-inch output. You can start running, distortion pedals, delays. Are you running that into a guitar amp, or what are you driving that?
Yeah, so I'm just running it into. Well, I've got my wah pedal, which that's a Crybaby wah that I've had. I think it was the first one I ever got, and
Thomas organ.
Something about it that just.
Is it a Thomas organ?
What's that?
Is it a Thomas organ or a Dunlop?
A Thomas organ.
Yeah, the Thomas organ was the original manufacturer of the Crybaby.
Oh, right.
Yeah, so if you can find some old ones, I got 3 Thomas organ ones that I store them now. I don't even use them, but
wow.
Yeah, there's
no. This is this one's just an 80s one.
Okay.
Yeah, but there's something about it that it can't properly handle the signal that the clav gives it. Like the clav is giving it too much, and it breaks up and distorts. So even if you're running it, like if you were to DI it,
right,
it would still be a bit distorted and a bit crunchy. And I love that. I absolutely love that. And I haven't been able to find another Crybaby that does it. They all handle the volume,
really,
the input, and it's really annoying.
Wow.
So I need to track down some more of those 80s Crybabys, or try and find or get it analyzed and find out
where the magic's coming from.
And and try and get some of the other ones to do the same thing. So I'm going into that, and then generally it's just into a Fender Hot Rod DeVille or a Fender Hot Rod Deluxe, which guitar players don't really like, but I love it.
Yeah,
I love them. I use the dirty channel on those, and that's what I've done pretty much since I got the whammy clav. I've been just using the dirty channel on the DeVille.
Nice.
And it's handy because it's a backline favorite.
Oh yeah.
So when I tour around, you can almost always count on there being one of those amps.
Yeah.
Hanging around. So so that's really great.
Yeah. Are those the tweed? Are those the tweed ones, or are they the black Tolex?
They're mainly the black ones, but I think they probably do make a couple in the tweed, but I think the tweed ones are generally the Bassmans, which are great amps.
Yeah.
As well, but yeah, I don't want to try and sound too knowledgeable about guitar amps because there'll be someone who'll be like, "You're completely wrong."
Yeah, yeah. As they say, don't read the comments. Who cares? Back to the Hammond real quick, because mine is set up. Somebody did I loaned it to a church for a while. I know who did it, but they disabled the Leslie's on and off switch that is right here, and put it into a foot switch.
Sure.
So it's on and off. Which do you prefer? Do you have one on the floor, or do you have your hand?
Well, I prefer to have it on the floor.
Okay.
Yeah. So that, like the Trek 2 pedal and those combo preamps, they're great as well because they've got the switching system incorporated into that at the same time. So so they have like a stomp pedal, stomp button on them to control the Leslie, which is what I prefer. But when you're touring around, more often than not, you're going to have the original Leslie kit set up.
Right.
The Half Moon switch, which is fine too. I'm more than happy to use that.
Yeah.
I had this one in Brazil is a bit weird though, because they've modified it and they put like a rocker switch on there, and it's not on the the front of the organ. It's like in the panel, and
Oh wow.
and it's just one of those things you're not used to, So
Yeah.
you're always fumbling around. I'm trying to sing and play and hit the Leslie in my hands. Where's that bloody thing?
Wow. Kind of like
things like that. You come across that all the time when you're using
else's stuff. Yeah.
line organs and stuff.
Yeah. So it's kind of like a light switch over there by the presets on the left.
Yeah, like a switch on like a maybe on Marshall amps, those sort of ones that click in. I don't know, something like that. And it's still left and right, but it's just getting used to it because you just forget when you're in the zone. You're so used to the half moon switch, and anyway, that doesn't matter.
How many shows do you have to use that one?
So 2 more shows.
Okay.
So we did 2 already, and then we've got Parachi Festival, and then we're going up north again, further north to in Victoria to the Santa Teresa Jazz Festival.
Nice. Are you going to have an opportunity to check out the rainforest or do any sightseeing of things that you've never seen before?
Hopefully going to try and get up to the Christ statue on the hill.
Yes.
in Rio de Janeiro.
Yeah.
If we can. And we're in Copacabana at the moment, which I really wanted to see that beach. So that's been pretty cool.
Yeah, nice.
But I can't imagine we'll get to see the rainforest at all, which would be amazing.
Yeah.
And but this is the first time here, so like the US, hopefully it'll lead to more times and we can come back and do some more of South America and because there's so many great places.
Sure.
Here as well, so we'll see. I just love it when I'm playing in new places. It feels exciting. We branching out into new territories.
It's kind of what it's all about. I think as a musician that gigs and goes on the road, and it's kind of a gypsy type of person that would want to do that thing in the first place.
Yeah, definitely. It's a strange lifestyle, and it's I still find it really exciting, especially when everything's going well. It's there's nothing quite like it, and then there is something amazing to be able to travel to the opposite side of the world and put on a show, and for there to be people there and people loving it.
Well, I think music, like you just said, you can go to the other side of the world and play your language of music, and they understand it. And you couldn't have a conversation like we're having because of the language barrier. But as soon as you sit down to the Hammond and the band fires it up, you're all talking the same language.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah, I don't take it for granted. It's a magical thing, that's for sure.
Yeah. So, what is the lineup that you're traveling with right now? And will it be the same group of guys or girls that'll be coming to the States?
Yes, it will. So it's going to be the main core, which is the 3-piece.
Okay.
So myself, Jackie Barnes on drums, and Joel Burton on bass. So they're the guys you'll see in pretty much all the clips for the last 5 or so years.
Yeah.
Jackie even longer on the drums. He's on most of them, but I mean, there's certain times when they've been busy because that's the problem when you want such amazing players. Everyone else wants them as well.
Sure.
So there's been plenty of times where they've been busy doing other things, and I've had to get other players. But most of the time, they've done the bulk of the touring and the gigs and the recordings. So the US is really tricky as far as visas go. Very expensive. And quite a lot of work to get. So it's basically $10,000 for each of us.
Wow.
So $30,000 worth of visas, and so it was originally just going to be me, and I was going to pick up local musicians.
Yeah.
But Jackie decided to get a visa because he wants to try and work a lot more in the States.
Sure.
As well. So it lasts for 3 years, and then at the very last minute, I decided. I was going to get Joel a visa, so I'm in the process of doing that now, which is a little bit scary because it does take a a little while.
Right.
But at least that means that there will be no problem. You know, I'd have to do it eventually if I was going to get Joel. I'd have to do it next year or the year after anyway. So this way, it'll make it easier for all of us to, you know, if a great opportunity or a great show or a great big festival comes up in the US, we can just jump on a plane and go over there without having to go, well, we need to get visas and they take 6 weeks and they cost this much money.
Well, not to sound dumb, but I'm kind of dumb. What exactly is a visa? Is it a work visa?
A work visa.
Is it?
Yeah.
I mean, you have a passport, right, from Australia?
Yes. Yeah.
And so you have to get a work visa to be able to come over here. You're going to be here
to earn money. To earn money in the States, yeah. We can come over as Australians on a tourist visa.
Right.
But it's a bit easier than that even if you just want to come over for a holiday.
Yeah.
You can just apply online and do a visa waiver, an ETSA, they call it, for Australia and maybe some other countries who are eligible for that same thing.
Yeah.
So that's not a problem. But as soon as you want to start earning money in the US, it's a whole different story. Then, you have to go through the process of getting a work visa, which is all about. Well, I understand Australia would have the same thing. It's just about why should we let you in to earn money when US citizens could be earning the money instead, kind of thing. I think that's the general gist of.
Yeah, they just want to tax you. They just want to tax.
Yeah, there's the tax thing too. Yeah, that's all very complicated and unmusical as well.
Yeah. Well, who knew that? You know, you just wanted to shred on the Hammond and the clav, but now you had.
That's right.
You had to turn into a social media marketing guy. You had to be a travel agent. You had to be an IRS agent. It's amazing the amount of hats that has to be worn to pull off, what you're doing.
Yeah. It's funny, isn't it? It's just because you love what you do so much and you're so passionate about playing music and wanting to get it out there and touring that, it's still somehow worth it doing all that stuff.
Yeah. The only thing that's worth it is the actual stage time.
Yeah, that's right. So as long as the gigs are good, it's worth it.
Yeah. Have you ever played golf? You golf?
Yeah, I used to play golf as a kid. I love playing golf. Yeah.
Okay, so you know that you can be out there for.
It froze up there. Sorry.
Okay, you know that you could be out there for 18 holes, and it's been just terrible all day long. But on the 18th, you had that one shot that makes you come back and want to do it again.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Absolutely.
Same thing.
It only takes one great gig to lure you back in. That's for sure.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned a little while ago that the 301 sessions. This was a project that I'm assuming you organized and put all that together as well.
Yep.
And it seemed to be like still at the tail end of COVID. It was in 2021, yeah?
2021, that's right, yeah.
How did you pull that all off? And it came out brilliantly. It looks great, sounds great, great players, great songs. How did you put all that together?
That all came about as a COVID project. Lockdowns were still happening, and they were on and off, and it didn't look like touring was going to be a thing anytime soon. And I'd been into that studio to do a performance with incredible guitar player, blues guitar player in Australia called Ray Beadle.
Mm-hmm.
And he was doing this thing where in this studio in 301, big studio, there's symphonic stuff. So it's a very big room where you can fit a whole orchestra, for the symphony stuff for movies. And and he had a live audience in there. So he had a tiny little PA and then like 20 people in the audience, and we recorded an album which was like a kind of a tribute album. So it was all some of the famous Stax songs that were very blues orientated.
Right.
So songs and play them fairly straight ahead. And it was just such a cool thing. It was such a great vibe, and it sounded great.
It looks good.
It was something different as well, and that's right. It was all filmed as well, and that's what inspired me.
Yeah.
And then I found out that 301 were actually doing these kind of video recording packages.
Nice.
And to entice people to get into the studio over, during COVID. So I just basically jumped on that and thought, all right, well, let's just try to get as many of my favorite people as I could involved. So we had, I don't know how many had we, like maybe 15, maybe more people.
Yeah.
All up involved. My favorite singers.
Yeah.
Horn players. Yeah. And my brother as well.
Nice. And
we did a song from the band I had with him called The Hands that we used to do 15 years earlier. And yeah, and I quite honestly, I was like, oh, even if we get, 5 or 6, the whole thing just came together so good and sounded so amazing, better than I could have imagined.
Now, did you end
testament
up?
To
yeah, did you end up editing all the audio and video, or was that kind of done for you?
Yep. Yeah.
Wow.
No, I did all that as well. Yeah. Yeah, mixed it and mastered it and cut up. I didn't cut up all the video. The guy Frace, he helped me with that, but quite often I end up doing a lot of that too.
Yeah.
It came up great, and we ended up using every single song.
Yeah, you essentially
from the show.
Yeah, you essentially recorded a live record and video at the same time. And so you ended up with 2 products.
It's like a live concert, but it was in the studio. So it's got that studio sound.
Yeah.
And then 20 people in there. This time instead of there being a small PA, we just had them in headphones. So they were listening to the desk mix in the headphones. So it was a little, I'm still performing like it's a gig.
Sure.
As opposed to if that audience wasn't there, it would be... I just know it would be very different, if it was just the cameras.
Yeah, it would.
But even having that small audience there just puts me instantly into gig mode. Yeah. And then I'm, jumping around and doing my thing.
Yeah.
And, and then, egging all the other musos on and just filling it with all that kind of excitement and enthusiasm. And, and luckily it all came together. And, I'm really, really glad we did that.
Yeah. Well, it looks great. Let's play a track from that. A Woman.
Sure.
Is there anything that you want to set up the song? What's is the background on the song?
The background of the tongue-in-cheek song, really. Just I suppose as, I'm getting older and, you think you're not, I guess you find, say this the right way, but, it's hard to talk to a younger girl on the same level because you're just in different worlds and different different times.
Sure.
And I suppose it's just that thing about, preferring someone who has a little more experience in life in various aspects.
Right. All right. Well,
it's a silly one.
Yeah, I like it. Let's check this out from the Studio 301 sessions. Lucky Dolly, A Woman.
I don't care about those high heels you're wearing, baby. need no twerk dance you're pushing, honey. You wow is honey all I care. Just don't let me buy you, baby. I need no woman. I jump from a speeding train, baby. I swim across kaleidoscope of bed. I sink this knife straight into my heart. Your love could only have just a one more start. Girls don't let me buy you, baby. I need no woman.
Yes, sir. That is how you do it.
Madness.
Yeah, it is madness, man. That everything sounded so clear. I mean, I love listening to tracks in here. We're using my in-ears because I can hear everything. The percussion player, just subtly in the back, just holding down, just really killer.
Just
rhythm.
thinking how good that song sounds with percussion.
Yeah. So, I mean, what do you say? Who do you else out there? Like, who are your Hammond legends that you're like, man, that's the Jimmy Smiths, Lord. Who are the guys that got you to this point?
Well, it's always really been Booker T, and
Oh wow.
yeah. Um, Before I'd even heard of John Lord, I was still kind of going crazy like that and screaming on the organ. But it was Booker T that kind of got me that I kind of learned my way around the organ and the drawbars and the sounds and the way he'd use the Leslie
Yeah.
and he was so masterful. He is so masterful with all that stuff and his tones. But I think I was just like this. I don't know. I just loved the power of the organ so much, and I loved the fact that you could just scream up high, and I was always very. As soon as I heard any of that kind of percussive stuff on the organ, I was just like, oh, I just love that, and I think I just wanted to do it all the time. So
Right.
it was, so I think it just sort of grew from that, and so I kind of had that. If you listen to when I listen to stuff from back then, it still sort of still sounds like me, and it's that kind of that madness. But from years and years of people mentioning John Lord to me and all these other organ players, in my 20s, I decided I should go and actually check all these guys out, and then of course I loved it.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. John Lord, absolutely amazing, and then he had all that classical sensibility as well, and whereas I was always it was strictly blues up until that point.
Right.
Me. So yeah, that then opened up a whole new world as well to all these new melodies and phrases and modes and things like that. Not that I really understand modes and that stuff musically all that much, but I could certainly hear what he was doing, and I could then incorporate that and take certain aspects of that. And so there is certainly a lot of John Lord in there these days.
Yeah.
And certain licks, but it's still, I would say, mostly rooted in the blues.
Yeah.
And then just a whole lot of patterns and experiments and feels like I like to raise the tension in solos.
Right. Yeah.
Whether it's with just rising chords or rising notes or rising timings. And so there's a lot of almost like pattern-based stuff, building tensions and then releases. And I love all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And reaching those points in solo.
You definitely design, like, you build your solos just like you're saying. There's an intro, there's a build, there's a climax, and then a lot of times you'll break it down and then do it to us again.
When I've run out of ideas, break it down.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the dynamics like that, to me, that really is what makes it. It hands off from, you're handing it off from the absolute chaos to boom. Everybody can mentally go, oh, do it again. It's like a roller coaster ride,
I love that. I love the light and shade of music. I love that tension and release, whether it's tempos or grooves, or whether it's simply volume and just, or whether it's intensity and or whether it's melodically and chordal as well. There's so many ways you can get that same kind of like manic, and then and then it breathes and gives you time to build something else. Then you can do a super slow build, or I think that's essentially what most of my style is based upon, is that there's not too much middle ground, I don't think, in my music. It's there's usually a whole lot of everything or not much of anything.
Well, your approach on the approach on the clav, in contrast to the Hammond solo, do you have to think in like a little bit more of like, okay, it's very similar to especially with the whammy bar, to a guitar.
Yeah.
So do you think sometimes, like, what would a guitar player play here, or is your approach has to be slightly keeled a different way than when you're approaching a solo or whatever on the Hammond?
Yeah, definitely. I think just the general gist of it is that it's definitely a lot slower. And even though with the organ you can sustain notes for as long as you like,
Yeah.
there's something about being able to modulate the notes with the whammy clav, and then if you've got it distorted and with the wah,
Yeah.
you can get that kind of sustain it, and then being able to bend notes. It feels like you've just got more. A note has more life and more like
flexibility.
You get more out of that note.
Yeah.
Than potentially after you've already hit it than you can with playing the organ. So I think generally I'll be milking notes longer,
right,
trying to get those sweet bends that capture that emotion and that kind of tension much more than that might not have to, but my just general what my body wants to do,
right,
is to play more and feel things out more. Whether that's a good thing, I don't know. But yeah, that seems to be. Yeah, I definitely, when I'm playing the whammy bar, the whammy clav where it's distorted, things are definitely getting milked for longer, and slow bends. I love those big slow bends, because you've got so much control with the whammy.
Yeah,
get everything out of a bend,
Yeah,
because you've got such control. And
how much of a how much of a bend is it? Is it a full step? Is it a step and a half? Like on the guitar, it's a whole step, or it's a half steps. How much will a
so
note?
Generally it's roughly a whole step. It's roughly a tone.
Okay.
But like a guitar, all the gauges of the strings are different, but different to a guitar. The lengths of gauges along the board. So some points.
Can you repeat that?
Like very low down, it'll bend, like almost two tones, and same right up the top where the strings are only like this long.
Right.
It can jump like three tones. The very top notes. So you have to know.
Okay.
Throughout the board, you have to know where the strings change gauges, and roughly where each note that you're playing, you need to bend to get to where you want to get it to.
Right.
So, but it's roughly about a tone. You would say on average, it's about a tone.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. I didn't know that it would be different. It would be different on the higher notes than if you're playing lower. But it makes sense.
Yeah,
it makes.
Well, I didn't know either when I organized getting one.
Yeah.
I remember talking to Ken Rich about it, going like I was saying the same thing. How far does it actually bend?
Right.
And he just thought that was the most stupid question anyone could ask, and he was like, "Huh? What do you mean? It's going to be different everywhere."
Yeah.
I remember that.
That's funny. Call you a
But
rookie.
yeah,
Did he call
it
you?
makes sense.
Call you a rookie? Come on, rookie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so it's different. It's quite different across the board because of all those different factors. But it takes a little bit to get used to. But yeah, once you've played it enough, it's it's like anything.
Yeah. I like when you hit you're hitting two notes that are somewhat dissonant with each other, and then you're giving it the whammy bar, and it's going through the the amp, and it's just chaos, man. Yeah, I saw a comment. Somebody said, "This is the Eddie Van Halen of the clavinet." I was like, "Yeah, close."
Yeah. You inevitably get compared to every guitar player and every Hammond player in some aspect.
Yeah. Well, but that kind of allows you to do a power trio and have a sound that sounds more like a traditional, rock blues sound, because you have that.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it is very handy. The organ, especially the way I play it, can not that I play it like that with every song, but it can be overwhelming, after a while, because it's a thick, powerful sound, the organ.
Yeah.
And it's kind of screaming away for too long. It can just, then being able to move to the whammy clav, it's just such a nice breath, and then you can milk out those slow notes, and then it's also a great thing to be able to jump between in the one song.
Right.
You can go from really thick screaming organ or vice versa. You can do the sweet organ tones, and then all of a sudden start wailing.
Yeah.
On the whammy clap. Perfect. That's better.
Well, right. You kind of did that in the track we just played, A Woman. You started with the Hammond on the big intro, big build. Then you went to the clav. Yeah. And then you handed off from the clav, back to the Hammond for the outro solo. That's, it's perfect. What about singing? When did you realize that, I might be able to sing? And, have you always been a singer?
I think I always wanted to be able to sing.
Yeah.
Naturally to me, that's for sure. It's always, and still is a struggle.
Yeah.
Singing. It's, I feel like I've found a place with my singing that I think works. I'm probably not the singer that I would like to be, probably never will be, but I feel like I've found a place where it works and it fits, and I like it, but it's limiting as well. What I think I can do vocally. I have to write my songs for what I think is going to work for my voice.
Right.
Which I find tricky because I like writing all sorts of stuff. So I've got a lot of songs that I write and then I just realize, this is
right.
Hopefully can get someone else, someone who's an amazing singer to sing it, who I think's voice it'll really suit.
Right.
But it's also a good thing too, because it gives you like the Hammond and the way I play Hammond and the way I play whammy clav is not that dissimilar, really. I don't pretend to be, an all-round kind of Hammond organ player who can play every style fantastically. I can't. I have my thing, which I've been lucky enough to be able to indulge and evolve over the years to really make it a thing. I think the way I play is, I think it's different.
Yeah.
A lot of people always compare you to other people, but I think it's got a thing, and I feel lucky that I've managed to get it to that point. And I guess vocally, it's a similar thing. It's trying to work out what you do best and what you can do, and then just try and improve on that and make that a thing, and then that becomes a part of your sound. That becomes, recognizable to you. And but do I wish I could sing?
Yeah,
like some of the great singers in the world, of course.
Well, the biggest thing is, like you said, you kind of your lane, and you're working the lane as good as anybody could. But all three of the instruments, your voice, the Hammond, and the clav, you hear any one of those on their own, and their signature. I mean, it's like, oh, that's lucky. I mean, your voice is that distinguishable. You know when you hear it. Oh, yeah, there's Lucky doing his thing, and same thing.
Cool.
Pretty much.
Right.
It's all got a very signature sound. But I've been watching you, like I said, for 4 years now, and I'm like, damn. I will say, there's a new track that I saw that had a different sound and a different vibe about it. It's new.
Yeah, the latest album's definitely got some different vibes to it, and
Yeah, my
intentionally trying to sing a little cleaner on some of the things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that track is definitely
that song's just a bit of a homage to I suppose some of those like Elton John rockers and things like that, and then similarly on the vocal on that one, it was like I was writing it and then I was going, oh, it probably doesn't really suit me, but and then I just tried a few different ways of trying to sing it, and then ended up singing it clean. But ultimately, it's a tricky thing, because when I do that, and I really love the way that song turned out, and I really love that song, but I just know that when I've sung it live only a few times, but when I sing it live, it always sounds different. It doesn't sound like the way I did it on the record. It sounds more like me, or what people are used to.
Right.
But that doesn't always work with the track. So it's just funny, isn't it? Music.
Yeah.
It's just, you're trying to work out what works best, and I'm always learning, but still I want to be able to do those tracks and make albums with those songs as well, rather than just leave them on the shelf because they don't quite fit the mold. But yeah, it's a tricky one.
Yeah, in this case too.
But I do love the song. I do love the way it turned out.
Yeah, in this case also, kind of something we haven't seen too much from you, an actual music video.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's music videos I've got a bit of a love-hate thing for. Sure. I have done a few music videos in the past, and it's funny, they just don't move the needle whatsoever.
Right.
I think unless something's really groundbreaking or some amazing idea, or it's just the best song in the world, they don't seem to do much, as opposed to all the live videos that I do, which do really, really well.
Yeah.
But I had a friend who really loved that song and wanted to help make a film clip for it. So I just basically let him take control of most of the ideas and the input for doing that, and he was more than happy to organize the whole thing. So yeah, and I was, of course, absolutely happy to go along with it and get a great, cool music video. And I think it looks amazing too. And it was a pretty cool thing. What we ended up doing was we, similar to 301, we made a gig out of it. So we did a gig on this boat in the harbour in Sydney Harbour, and we did two sets, and basically had all the I suppose the biggest fans I had in Sydney, in my hometown, being a part of it. And then we did a set, and we did that song in the set, and we filmed that. And then in between sets, I had this fake piano, like it was a real piano once, but all the insides were taken out of it, and we had that on the front of the boat, and then had everyone dancing around and miming to the song on that.
Yeah.
And then went back and did another set after that and filmed it again, and then just sort of then the editors pieced all that together. So I didn't have a hand in any of the video.
Wasn't that nice? Wasn't that nice?
Yeah, it was. It was very nice.
Yeah.
I just got handed the finished product. It was like, hey, that's cool. I like that.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that's how that came about. And yeah, but sadly they're very expensive to make, and they don't perform like my live videos do, which are very cheap to make. I could set up a few cameras, and if we can get a good sound, it doesn't take too long to piece together something. And people just love the authenticity of
live
videos.
Yeah. You're seeing stream of consciousness thinking and in a live performance. Because I mean, come on, you're not playing note for note the same solo. Every time. I mean, you're going with whatever's flowing through you on that solo.
Yeah, not even doing the same arrangements.
Yeah, that's funny.
We can go anywhere.
Well, let's check out. I wasn't planning on doing this one, but let's check out the video for My Own Medicine, since it's new.
Oh, sure.
Okay. All right, My Own Medicine, Lucky Dolly. Man, I love that. And we heard something that we don't hear a lot of, but obviously you can slay it, is straight up piano.
Yeah, that's right.
A straight up piano solo. A lot of piano work in that track. But coming out of the piano solo near the end, you do this run. I don't even know what it was, but it was so cool. A little bit out left field.
Just an octave thing, really. Like
yeah, it was awesome.
I don't know if you can see it. And then going up the major triad, really. That's all. Isn't
it so fun, man?
Yeah.
The other thing I noticed on that track was background vocals that you were doing. You were doing some background vocals. Yeah, vocally, yeah, this definitely is a different approach from the other stuff that I hear.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
Stacked vocals on the chorus, maybe, or maybe there's a chorus effect on it. Sounds really
wild. I don't think there's a chorus effect. I think it's just doubled or maybe even tripled.
Yeah,
I'm not sure. Yeah, with all the waka wakas, which are all very silly and fun.
Yeah,
it's a fun song. That's why the clip lighthearted and good time song. I mean, if you listen to all my albums, there's generally a couple of tracks that are kind of poppy and a bit silly.
Yeah.
On all of them, you know, it's definitely something that I love, and I love that kind of lightheartedness, as well as, you know, the real bluesy, the deep stuff, and the soul-y. There's always, it's probably to my detriment that I have trouble doing an album which is really a consistent sound, but I definitely like so many different styles and so many different things that, well, quite often it can be a little bit of a mixed bag. So I'm trying to get better at that.
Well, I mean, you have to look at it though. It's like, it's just you being you. And I mean, could you imagine the conversations at the record labels when Led Zeppelin did Zeppelin 1, they did Zeppelin 2, and then they're like, we're going to do an acoustic record that's, you know, just left field.
Yeah.
They probably thought they had lost their mind, you know? So you just gotta do what, you know, what's in your heart, and we'll consume it.
That's true. Yeah. There's something to be said for that. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Just, it's being true and being real to whatever you feel in the moment.
Hey, listen, you're the one that's going to have to play it for the next 30 years. You better like what you're doing.
Yeah, exactly.
I had a note here. Well, I had a couple of notes, man. That some collaborations that you've done with people. Glenn Hughes, and there's Joe Bonamassa, and then Bootsy Collins.
Yep.
What was it like sitting in the room with Bootsy Collins in the studio? I mean, I'm assuming that you'd spent a day with him in the studio. That had to be like...
No, nothing like that. No, it was all done remotely.
Oh, wow.
Like so many things these days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, but I would have loved that. That hopefully I will actually get to meet him in person one day.
Yeah.
Maybe even on this trip if it works out. But yeah, it's simple. The Parliament, P-Funk stuff.
Yeah.
You know, when I discovered funk, that was
the stuff.
I'd say it was them. I'd say it was P-Funk first, and then things like the Meters, and then kind of, like that kind of, I'm pretty sure it was P-Funk, and then I found that kind of earlier funk, like the Meters, and then just everything. So Bootsy was a huge part of my musical
journey,
schooling, and so when he shared a couple of my videos, maybe 5 or 6 years ago, that just completely blew my mind.
Right.
And from that, he contacted me to play on some tracks of his.
Nice. Clav?
For his songs. And so that was, you know, I just couldn't even fathom that was even happening. He's just such a legend, such a hero to me. And the fact that he really loved what I did for him.
Yeah.
So that was great. And then when it came to recording this latest album, I had this song where I was like to Joel, let's just make it like, I want this one kind of to sound a bit bootsy like on the bass. And then, so Joel did a great job of that, of playing, with the envelope filter and sort of having that kind of, I don't know, that space and that kind of, that great way that Bootsy can play in between things as well as holding down that massive one.
Right.
And then once that was done, because that was a bit of the studio, it wasn't completely finished. And when I was sort of piecing together what I wanted to sing, I just had the idea of like, man, maybe I should just see, I've done all this cool stuff with Bootsy. I wonder if he would actually want to be on my album.
Right.
And I just reached out to him and asked him, and sure enough, he was like, yeah. He didn't play. We ended up keeping Joel's bass.
Right.
I did offer if he wanted to play bass, but he said no. I'll do some vocal stuff. So yeah, within like I think within like 48 hours, he'd done a whole bunch of passes, nice. And I even gave him a couple of vocal ideas just to go along with the lyrics that I'd written.
Right.
And yeah, he did all these cool takes, and then I sort of pieced it together a bit, and yeah, within like 48 hours, that all the vocal and everything was sort of laid out for that song, and it's just amazing.
Yeah, that's when you
believe it. What a bloody legend!
That's when you know it's right, when it falls together. There's not going to be effort, so I can't say effortlessly, but when it falls together and it's just like, oh, that's perfect. Oh, that's great. It's just like, oh. But when you're doing the mixing, you said you're doing the mixing and the mastering. How do you tell yourself, all right, it's done, bounce down, mix, it's done, instead of, how many car rides that you're listening to it in the car and you're listening to it on earbuds or whatever. When is it enough?
You don't want to know how painful it is.
I do.
And painful for the people around me.
Yep.
To put up with me. Yeah, I don't find it easy, and I find it pretty horrible, really. But yeah. So quite often I'll start mixing it, and I'll be like, "This is great, this is fantastic," and then something will happen, and then I'll be like, "This is terrible, this sucks," and I'll start again.
Yeah.
And it's a bit of a merry-go-round. Just go around that a few times, and luckily I've got my mate who. He kind of co-produces with me as well.
Yeah,
Kieran. He owns this great studio, and he knows what I'm like. Yeah. And he's great to have around because he can just hear the songs in a totally different way than I hear them.
Yeah,
he can just hear them for what they are, yeah. and eventually he can just basically slap me over the face and go, "This is ridiculous."
Yeah,
and then we get it.
Yeah.
But it's a weird process.
Yeah.
It's a weird process.
I go through the same thing, in especially in mixing, but even in the creative, it's like I put too much stuff on there and then I go back and start pulling stuff out. And I joke with the guys, I was like, guys, I need you to come over here because I need a chaperone to tell me to stop,
Yeah.
Otherwise, it just can be a perpetual thing. I've got friends that record and write that never get to the finish line. I won't say never, but a song that should have taken 3 weeks is still not got a final on it in 3 years.
Yeah.
Paralysis by analysis.
It is, without a doubt. You're just so close to it, and it means so much, and you want it to be perfect.
Right.
And if it's not perfect, then you're just like, well, if you don't think it's perfect, you're going to keep working at it to try and get there.
Right.
And sometimes, you can end up basically making it worse, or you can end up not releasing anything at all.
Right. Which is the worst. That's the worst thing that can happen. Well, let's listen to one more track, and then I'll let you go. But man, I've kind of was not trying to hound you, but I was reaching out consistently for the past couple couple of months because I wanted to get you on and hear your story and just let you know that, man, you're affecting people, fellow musicians, with what you're doing, and it means a lot. So keep at it.
Oh, thank you. Thanks so much for saying.
Yeah, man. Steve Winwood.
I do need a lot of prodding. I get so overwhelmed with everything that I'm doing, and I have all these great intentions to do every interview and every podcast, but sometimes I just
Are you
I always encourage people to keep prodding.
Yeah, there you go. Are you a sticky note to do kind of guy, or a calendar on your phone? What's your organization style?
It's terrible. It's all over the shop, really. I just try and keep a to-do list, really. That's as much as I can sort of do, but I don't even fill that out as much as I should.
Right.
But it's just tricky, I think, because you've got things coming from every angles. You've got emails and you've got messengers and you've got comments and there's business happening in all those areas. And I find it very hard to put it all into one place where I can actually work out all the things that I've got to do. But I keep telling myself one day I won't have to do that anymore.
Yeah.
I'll have someone else doing it, but not yet.
You'll have help, but you're still going to want to have, the final say on what gets released and that.
Of course.
I hold those types of things close to the vest, and the guys in the band are like, "Hey, let's release another video. Let's release one." I was like, "We're not ready yet. We're doing, that whole thing." It's like,
yeah.
But I was going to say, Steve Winwood has to be somewhere in your journey of this path, especially in that last track, vocally even, but playing style too. What are your thoughts on Steve?
I love Steve. He's one of my absolute favorite singers and songwriters, and such an inspiration to write those timeless songs back when he was 16 or 17,
right?
And his vocal sounded like he was 30 or something.
Yeah, I know.
So absolutely huge inspiration. Especially probably even more vocally and songwriting wise,
right,
than necessarily playing wise. But everything he does play is fantastic.
Yeah.
But can't imagine what he'd think of my playing. He'd probably think it's just all a bit over the top, too much to bear. But for me, I love those songs. I love playing those songs, and I even love all of his 80s work and all those songs as well.
Yeah,
and much of his later material. He's just such a timeless character and amazing musician all around.
Did you ever hear the version of Voodoo Child with Hendrix? Is the really slow version, and you could tell it was in a studio, and Winwood was on Hammond on that.
Yeah, that's really interesting, that version, isn't it?
Yeah, I love that version.
Yeah, that was quite late, wasn't it?
It might have been after the Experience guys. It might have been the Band of Gypsies guys.
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah,
but that's brilliant.
Yeah, that's a great version too, and his playing on that's killer.
Mm-hmm. It's all feel. So back to the Studio 301 sessions. Last track we'll do is "I'm a Man."
Sure. All right. Perfect.
This one bangs, and I don't know who you have on guitar on this, but he kills it.
Franco Raggett. Yeah. Sweetest guy, amazing player.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said with that 301, it was just a chance to pull in as many of my favorite people, friends, players, and just try and make it a party. It was actually my 43rd birthday, I think, that we did it on as well.
Nice.
Also had that kind of celebrationary feel to it.
Yeah. Well, and I love the blue sport coat in that session.
Oh, yeah.
I love
and
that.
The white T-shirt and the white sneakers.
No, you look good.
Full Miami Vice.
Yeah, full Miami Vice. All right, well, here's I'm a Man.
Well, my pattern's very messy. I got whiskers on my chin, and I'm all hung up on music. And I always play the whiskey. I ain't got no time for lovers, 'cause my time is all used up. Sit there and creating all that cool kind of stuff, 'cause I'm a man. Yes, I am, and I can, and love you so. I'm a man. Yes, I am, and I can, and love you so. Well, if I had my choice of matter, I would rather be with cats on them posting metal jacket. So we're where our minds are at, all relating to each other. Just how strong a will could be. Resisting all and open with a groovy chick we see. 'Cause I'm a man. Yes, I am, and I can, and I love you so. Yeah, I'm a man. Yes, I am, and I can, and I love you so. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to introduce to you on the guitar. Please give it up for the incredible Mr. Frank Del Ragged. Frank Del Ragged, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, that definitely has a live feel. You know,
Yeah, it certainly does.
if you're gonna do it in a studio and do it like that, because you're capturing, live mojo there for sure.
That's one of the great things, like playing songs that you've either recorded before or the cover versions. They're easy to kind of. It's easy to do that, to go into the studio and smash it out. But when you're doing a brand new original album, you don't really even necessarily know how the songs are going to be.
Right.
So ultimately, I'd love to be able to do that for a new original album. I'd love to be able to have the songs so worked up that they're second nature, and they've been road tested, and can actually just walk into the studio and do something like that with a whole bunch of original songs.
Yeah.
Hopefully one day.
Yeah, I think that's a good plan. Is get your next album worth of material, go out, gig it, like you said, get it road tight, and then come in and throw a party in the studio again.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, certainly works.
Yeah, it definitely works. On that track, whenever you do a cover like that, do you have to get licensing for it to be able to do it, or do you just
for when it goes to the streaming sites, they take care of all that. But when you press the CDs, when you get them actually at the time of manufacture, they calculate how many you're making, and then you have to pay a certain amount to the people who are manufacturing it, and then they pay. That's the way it works in Australia, anyway. I think that's similar in the US.
Yeah.
But as far as the video goes, I'm not selling the videos, so I imagine. So there's nothing that I know of that I've had to do, and if the people who own the publishing for it have got a problem with it, then they would just take it down, I think, which would be sad.
Yeah,
there's many people's videos that have been muted or taken down, but luckily those ones haven't.
Yeah.
But if I was to sell on a DVD or a Blu-ray, then I think there would be more stuff I'd need to get licenses.
Yeah. Well, it's it's interesting because I do this podcast and I have artists come on and we preview their material, and they're fine with it. As soon as I put it on YouTube, boom, it gets a copyright strike because I'm playing their material while I'm interviewing them, and it just says you can't monetize this video, kind of a thing.
Can't monetize it, yeah.
So essentially, I just do this for free, and it's because it's fun to talk to people and get their story. But excuse me, that track, man, had horns. It had background singers. That's probably the biggest lineup of people that I've heard you play with.
Yeah.
I mean, how many people was that?
Four horns and the three singers. We've done a couple of gigs like that. Never outside of Australia, sadly, but
right.
Yeah, we've done a few now. A few of the big festivals in Australia with that lineup. I call it Lockie Dolly and the Horns of Conviction.
Yeah, I like it.
The big band like that, which is great. It's always amazing to be able to do that. And we often play different songs too. There's a few older songs that lend itself with the three piece, but when I've got that many people on stage, I can I can really make them work, and they're great to do. So it is kind of a different beast being able to play with the big band. That's for sure.
Yeah,
I wish I could do it overseas. Maybe, hopefully, one day it'll get to that point.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's both shows are equally energetic and awesome, but definitely that had a vibe of like you said, a big band. Like, wow, we got horns, we got everybody. Where do you look? Everybody's doing something cool, kind of a thing.
Yeah, definitely.
So the last thing that I want to talk about before we close out and talk about your dates here in the States. I think it was again during COVID. One of the most iconic Hammond songs possibly on the planet is Foreplay and long time collaboration that you did with
Oh yeah, I
Portnoy.
thought you were going to say White Shade of Pale.
Well, that one too, but the remote recorded collaboration of Foreplay and Long Time. How did that come about? And it's awesome.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah, that one came out of nowhere. So Dino Jaluzic, the singer on that track, I'm not sure if I'd even spoken to him before, or maybe I had, but I'm pretty sure I just got a message with him. I think I must have been familiar with some of the stuff that he'd done already, but yeah, essentially I got a message from him saying he wanted to do a version of a Foreplay Long Time, and believe it or not, I hadn't even heard the song.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I wasn't quite sure what he meant, so I had to listen to it, and I was like, holy wow, that's insane.
Yeah.
Like, what a epic. I mean, I don't know, maybe I'd heard it before, but certainly wasn't familiar with it. And
so you had to learn that? You had to learn that?
Oh. Basically, I just decided that I needed to learn it, and I wanted to see if I could actually do it and challenge myself. Because he was talking about, I think he was even talking about, I think he first mentioned he was going to try and get like Steve Lukather to play on it, and someone else, and I was like, oh, far out, that's insane.
Yeah.
But when I listened to the track, I think I was just like, you know what, stuff it. I'm going to try and do it, because I've never really played anything quite that classical and that sort of perfectly worked out in my life.
Right.
And so it was a personal challenge for me.
Sure.
And when I got it, it was literally, it was just Mike's drums. That was it.
Right.
That was all I had, was Mike's drums.
In a BPM to throw it in the DAW?
No, because you know what? I don't know if I'm meant to give away the secrets or not, but he played along. He just played along to the original track.
Okay. Yeah.
So, I think I imagine if you lined them up, they would be perfectly in sync with each other, both versions.
Right.
Which is good and bad, but what it did mean is there was no click.
Right.
And there was all those epic spaces in between those songs where it breaks down, where there's no time and all that sort of stuff. So it was really, really hard for me to try and get those things in all the right places. I ended up having to put all these like visual markers in Pro Tools of where the changes were.
Yep.
So like I could see it coming and like, all right, see this one coming. Okay, next chord. Next chord. It was quite logistically, it was quite hard.
Yeah.
But and I spent a lot of time working it out. Half by ear, half by YouTube.
Yeah.
People put up the most amazing things up on YouTube.
Yep.
Because I can't read music, so the manuscript is no good for me.
Right.
So and then I thought, and I just wanted to do it really well, and I wanted to try and get the organ sound as happening and as close, and try and get it. You know, I certainly added a little bit of myself in there, but not much really.
Yeah, you kept it pretty close.
Yeah, and I think I worked probably more in the drawbars and a few of those little things that might be subtly different. But in a way, it was just a challenge, and then I didn't expect it to go so crazy like that. But, it turned out amazing.
Yeah, it really did. It really did. And to think that a guitar player did that.
I know. Oh man, Tom Schultz, what a incredible musician.
Yeah, well, he's also got a degree from MIT or something like that too, and he's
I'm not surprised.
Just
surprised.
One of those guys.
Yeah, what a piece of I've been slightly inspired from that to try and do something similar, but it's just not my world really. That full on classical
Don't you find though when you work something up like that, don't you find that it's almost like, okay, I just got another tool for my tool bag because I learned this technique that I don't normally use, but now I got it. Now I'm you're just gathering wrenches.
It does, yeah. And I definitely say from spending as much time on that as I did, I could feel certain parts of that creep into to the way I solo.
Yeah.
And you can think a little bit more like that when you're writing or coming up with solo ideas.
Yeah.
But anything you learn is always going to be a good thing. So
yeah.
But especially during COVID, it was like, this is, I want to prove to myself I can actually do this.
Yeah.
And as you see, I'm like, if you watch the clip,
you're working. Yeah. I was just
head down.
I was just, and it was cool too. I believe you did a camera shot straight down. I
definitely had one over the shoulder sort of thing.
Oh yeah, here it is. Yeah, it's kind of over your right shoulder. Said that was going to be the last thing I bring up, but it's not, because one of the other things early on when I saw your stuff was your online organ lesson class clinic.
Yeah.
Do you still have that out there? And
I do, yeah.
Yeah. How do people get that, and how could it help me?
What was that? How can it help you?
Yeah. How can it help me figure out how to use that machine over there?
Yeah, well, it basically just goes through the way I think about the organ and what's going through my head when I'm playing, and the different techniques that I'm using, that I'm going for, and how I think about the drawbars, not necessarily as preset sounds, but more as a fluid, almost like an EQ or a filter. Or a sweeping filter, and if you look at a lot of the clips I play, not necessarily the parts where I'm really going for it. Quite often, all the drawbars are out, and that. But if you look at all the stuff that's more subtle and more melodic.
Yeah.
I'm always playing with the drawbars and milking, even single notes all the time with the drawbars and yes, there's certainly a lot focused on that. And of course, there's a lot of licks in there because people like to be able to learn specific licks that you're playing, and grooves, and the way I approach certain genres and grooves, and the way I would do it, and the Leslie as well. It's sort of, I tried to cover as much of what I thought was, there's certainly generic stuff there, but then also as much as I could that I thought was kind of particularly, what I do,
right?
Which I think what I like to do, which might be a little bit different to what most people do.
Right.
Yeah, and then certain techniques, like the 2-finger flick is one of the things I talk about in there.
Yeah,
it's just a percussive sort of trick that I kind of incorporate in almost everything I do on piano and the clav as well.
Right.
Yeah, and then the percussion and the way things build up and drop down, and that getting the tension and release out of the drawbars, the volume pedal, the Leslie, all the different tools at your disposal, and yeah.
Wow, it's very comprehensive. Is it a series of videos, or is it? Yeah,
there's like in sections, and I try and make it as cohesive as possible. So there's a section on the drawbars, section on the volume pedal, Leslie, grooves, licks, philosophies. Yeah.
How long did it take you to put that together?
Pretty amazing thing to do, to even analyze what you're actually doing and try and get it out in words. It was a pretty cool thing to do.
Yeah. How long did it take?
But yeah, you can get it. You can get it on my website. That's the easiest way to do it. blockydolly.com.
Okay.
There's a link to the hammer course there. It's actually on sale right now. I don't know when this is going out. I think it's on sale for another week, I think is what I said.
Okay.
So, yeah, periodically, maybe every 6 months, I put it on sale for a little while, and that usually gets a few more people through the door.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And
yeah, how long did it take?
Yeah, it's a great thing, and it's gets lots of good feedback, which is always really wonderful.
Yeah.
When that happens, and it's been a bit of a game changer for me as well, as far as just being able to have some income to keep doing what I'm doing and not have to always just gig all the time, because you need the money coming in.
Right.
So it's been very, very helpful in the last, how many years? It's 2017, I think. So yeah, it's been a little while now.
How long did it take to put together?
I think it was about 2 weeks.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow. Really?
2 weeks filming, and it would have been longer than that. It was about 2 weeks filming, and it would have taken me quite a few months editing.
Right.
It was quite long. But I remember I had a deadline as well.
Right.
Because I'd already pre-sold a bunch. That was another similar thing to, the Kickstarter. I pre-sold it to prove, whether there was actually the demand to do it, and then it was. So then it was like, all right, and I'd set a date, so I have to get it done by this date. And yeah, I've done quite a lot of things like that.
Yeah, well, sometimes
in my career.
Sometimes feet to the fire is the only way you get things done.
It's true.
Yep.
Nothing beats a deadline.
No, yeah, right. Well, let's talk about the U.S. tour. Now you are at 1, 2, 3, 4, 8 shows in the States. Starting in Portland.
Yeah, that's right.
And working your way to all the way across to Florida. And then for some reason from Florida to Wisconsin.
It's all over the shop, that's for sure.
Yeah.
It's not your typical tour. There's no driving really, it's all flying.
Okay.
That's why we can it can be so radically here and there.
Right.
But hopefully next year, if we do a real tour, like a real proper one, it would be more set out and more flowing, and then we could have a bus or a big van or something, and actually sort of go from place to place, which are only a few hours apart. But just the way it worked out. I booked those 3 shows initially on 3 different Saturday nights.
Yep.
The New York, Nashville, and LA, and then once I did that, it was amazing. All these people started contacting me with various opportunities and various offers to play, and some of them were festivals, and obviously festivals, you just they've got their set dates,
right?
So you just have to work around that. And then was lucky to get a couple of other venues that kind of weren't too far away, and they made some good offers and have managed to fit them in as well. So it's kind of turned into a real tour now. Which is amazing. And there probably would have been more shows, but I'm really lucky that I've actually getting my family to come over, and they're going to fly over for a week.
Awesome. So
we've got a week in LA, and we're going to go to Disneyland and do all that
nice.
Sort of stuff too.
Nice.
So it's a kind of like a tour / mini holiday, and it's all pretty wild.
Yeah, it's gonna be good for you to come see what the States are all about, and gain more fans.
Yeah, and all the shows are selling incredibly well as well, and so I think it's gonna be a real success. Just got to, as long as I can logistically make it all happen smoothly.
Yeah.
As far as tickets go and the gigs, I think it's going to be
Well, you're not doing Atlanta, which is a bummer for me, but I think a buddy and I are going to try to come to the Nashville show.
Great.
It's 5-hour drive, but like you said, turn it into a little party and get together and come see you.
5 hours, it's nothing. In Australia, it's just like I'll drive to 5 hours to a gig, do the gig, turn around, drive back.
Yeah, that's crazy. I don't think I've never been to Australia, but I don't think that Americans have a concept of how big it is. We think Texas is big, but I think you're like 4 or 5 Texases.
Yeah, well, it's funny because technically Australia is basically about the same size as the US, but you guys have got, 30 states or something, and however many major cities, like 100 major cities or something, I don't know.
Yeah.
Whereas we've only got 5 or 6 states and 6 capital cities, and they're all like 10 hours apart at least.
Right. Yeah. And with that, you've got a lot of wide open spaces in between. Is that what's
That's right. Yeah, there's basically nothing in the middle except desert. Wow. Yeah. I mean, we've got Uluru, which is the famous rock in the middle of Australia, and a town called Alice Springs there, but that's not really a very big town. And then it's just desert really in the middle. The whole middle part of Australia is pretty much all just desert.
Wow.
And then all the towns are just around the coastline or not too far inland. That's generally the way it is in Australia. So it's
Huh. Yeah. As Americans, we as soon as we hear Australia, first thing that pops into our head is, oh no, there's a fly that's going to bite me that's so venomous it could kill an elephant, and snakes and all that kind of stuff, spiders.
All around the world, everywhere you go, everyone just talks about all the things that can kill you. But the only thing there is really is crocodiles.
Oh,
I think they're the you have to worry about, and they're only in a certain part as well. They're like the top end of Australia, really.
Yeah. And our crocodiles.
Yeah, there are snakes and spiders, but the spiders, I think I've only ever come across one spider that could potentially kill me if it.
Right.
And same with snakes, really.
Yeah. You just don't put yourself in a situation, right?
Yeah. It's all pretty good, really. Not too bad.
Yeah. Well, Lucky, again, I appreciate you coming on. Are you guys going? Well, it's past dinner time for you guys now, huh? Is it bedtime for you guys?
Well, what is it? It's 8:43.
Yes.
I I think we're almost on the same time. I'm in Brazil. What time is it where you
are? 7:43.
So I'm an hour ahead. 8:43.
Yeah. So
not too different.
All right. Well, cheers to you. I hope to see you on the 20th in Nashville. And man, can't.
Yeah, that'd be amazing.
Yeah, I can't cheer for you enough on the sidelines. From, like I said, been watching you for the past 4 years or so, and just glad to see that things are happening for you.
Yeah, thanks so much, and with you and be a part of it.
Absolutely. All right, look, stay on the line here, and we'll just close this thing out, and we'll see you on the next show.
Perfect. Love it.
You're watching the Original Music Podcast with your host, Raymond Hamza.